Hi and welcome. In this video I'm going to talk a little bit about Raptor's SEO web crawler, what it is, how it works and how it can help your business. And also a little bit about web crawling in general. If you're unfamiliar with web crawling, this is something that's been around for many years now and is heavily used throughout digital marketing for a number of different reasons. Most commonly people crawl websites in order to automate the process of collecting data from those websites. This data can be used for SEO audits or competitor analysis, can be used to extract data that you want from websites, or to perform any other type of analysis. And so we've developed our SEO web crawler over the last couple of years and have been adding features to this. Now the setup of this is pretty straightforward, although we've got some interesting options. When you set up a project, you name the project, the site, provide a URL and a sitemap if you have a sitemap. And there's various options that you can choose from. So if you want to include all of the subdomains that are located on a domain, then you'll have this switched on. If you want to restrict the crawl to only the files and subdirectories found within the starting directory, you can toggle that. If you want to include or not include images, you can set that there. The same with CSS files and JavaScript files. And you can also choose to render a page as JavaScript. So if you've got a JavaScript site, you'll need to enable that to ensure that you can crawl and render that site properly. You can also set a maximum directory depth to prevent the crawler from going too deep into a site. And we have information on what all of these things mean throughout the documentation. Now, to crawl a site couldn't be easier. A simple click of a button. Once that process begins, it will use the crawl settings that you have saved for this particular project and site. And the first thing that we do as part of this will be to analyze the robots.txt file. From here, we're looking for a link to a sitemap. If we find a link to a sitemap, we'll then follow that and begin to analyze that sitemap and crawl it for other links. And so if you have a master sitemap that links to other sitemaps, that'll all be picked up during this process. Now, if there isn't a link within the robots.txt file, the crawler will look in the normal location, so it'll look for /sitemap.xml or sitemap-index, and just try a few of those permeations to see if any of them are a hit. We'll find pretty 9 out of 10 times we'll find a sitemap without being told where it is, and then we'll begin to crawl that sitemap, pulling out all of the URLs that we find. Now, all of those URLs go into a queue, and then when we begin the crawl process of actually crawling the rest of the site, the web crawler just goes through that queue. And then every page that's found is again crawled and scraped for information, and any links that we find on that page that aren't already in the queue are then added to the queue. And so throughout this iterative process, we can crawl each page of the site, identify any new pages, crawl those, and so on and so forth. This process essentially just continues until every URL has been found, and obviously this is kept within the bounds of the settings. So if you've set it to only crawl in the starting directory, and we find links to URLs that are outside of that starting directory, then they won't be added to the crawl queue. Now, on the crawling page, you'll be able to see a whole bunch of information about the crawl progress, such as a loading bar. Obviously, this loading bar will only show you the amount of URLs crawled out of those found. So if we haven't found all of the URLs, then this is going to be updated in real time. This section shows you what part of the process they are in. So once we've crawled the site, we analyze that data for a whole range of SEO issues that are included within the technical and SEO auditing features of our software. And you can check out videos on those either on our YouTube channel or on our website. So on this page, you'll also see information about the file types that we've identified during the crawl, such as HTML pages or images, how many JavaScript files, CSS files, and then just a bucket for all other types of files that we've identified. We have a graphical representation of this to the right. You can also pause a crawl at any time if you want, and then come back to start that crawl again. We also show status codes as well. So down here in this table, you can see the actual numbers of the status or response codes that URLs are returning that we're trying to crawl. So if a URL is returning a status code other than 200, we won't be able to crawl that page because for some reason it won't be accessible. That may be because it's being redirected or it's returning some kind of error that makes that page inaccessible. And again, over to the right, we just have a visual representation of that data so you can see how the crawl is progressing. And typically we're going to find HTML pages before we find any of the other pages on the site, as these are the most linked to pages typically from sitemaps. But as the crawl progresses, you'll start to pick up all of the other file types that we identify. Everything you've seen in this video is available in our free trial, and you can get a free trial by going to raptor-dmt.com and clicking on Start a Free Trial. This will enable you to sign up. All we require is a username and email address and a password. Verify the email and you'll get access to all of the features you've seen in this video, plus much more. There's no credit card required. You get a 30-day trial and 5,000 URLs to use for free. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.